Tonight on BeeTv, major news coming your way from Benin City, Edo State capital, Nigeria.
I don't want us to have. I told you very, very coolly.
The truck was actually coming from Ring Road. It missed a step. So as it was trying to gather itself, it fell.
What we are witnessing these days, it is something we can no longer understand.
They should stop telling us and promising us all those promises are fake, giving us this sense of promises are fake. We don't want it anymore.
On the headlines, the Supreme Court of Nigeria on Wednesday entertained appeal by Dr. Aswen Godalo and the PDP challenging the judgment of the Court of Appeal. Ahead 2027 general election, the Independent National Electoral Commission set to unveil new guidelines for reviewing election results.
The Commission is concerned with various interpretations given to the provision of Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2022 on the review of election results. Pursuant to our powers to issue regulations, guidelines, and manuals to give effect to the provisions of the Electoral Act and for its administration, the Commission is working on a supplement to the regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections 2022.
Plus, Edo State government takes bold steps to mitigate 2025 flood risk, embark on desiccation of drains and evacuation of debris. And also on the headlines, Edo State Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs mediates in Uneme-Osu Community Chieftaincy title.
The Yobu family wrote again to the heads of Uyoshi family. What are the authentic names of the children we have in Uneme-Osu?
We will be relying on the outcome of these judgments to know whether or not he is ascended to the throne was actually in order or not.
A very good evening to you. Thank you so very much for joining us on BeeTv News at 6. We're transmitting live from Benin City, the Edo State capital. My name is Best Orator. Welcome. Nigerians' attention shifted to the Supreme Court as the appeal by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate Dr. Aswen Godalo against Governor Monday Okpebholo earlier today held. The Supreme Court, however, reserved judgment in the matter after the appellant and respondents' counsel argued and adopted their pleadings on whether or not the Apex Court should uphold or upturn the decision of the Court of Appeal. The report. Hearing in the appeal filed by the PDP and its 2024 governorship candidate Dr. Aswen Godalo at the Supreme Court commenced exactly 9 a.m. on Wednesday. Counsel to the appellant Adetunji Oyeyikpo SAN led the appellant's team, Waikanu Agabi, Onyechikweazu, and Emmanuel Ukala, all senior advocates of Nigeria, represented INEC, Governor Monday Okpebholo, and the All Progressives Congress, respectively. Oyeyikpo SAN told the court that the appeal was ripe for hearing and all motions had been brought in. He informed the court that the notice of appeal was filed on June 10 and sought the court permission to allow Ken Mozia SAN to argue the appeal on behalf of the appellant's team. Ken Mozia SAN then said that the appeal was against the judgment of the Court of Appeal delivered on May 25 and went on to list the various processes filed as well as response to the replies of all the defendants. He then urged the court to allow the appeal. He said 5 issues were raised arising from the judgment of the tribunal and the affirmation of the alleged perverse judgment of the tribunal. Ken Mosia-Essien said that the court below had heard that they should have made an order nullifying the election on grounds of non-compliance in line with section 136(1) of the Electoral Act, but it is their case that they are claiming non-compliance in some polling units, not on the entire election across the 192 wards of Edo State. He insisted that invalidation should be done at only the polling units complained about and not the entire election, citing the case of Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, where the court's decision was based on the affected polling units and not the entire election. On the issue of non-serialization of electoral material, Ken Mosia-Essien argued that the court below erred in law when it insisted that the issue did not amount to non-compliance, while on the issue of failure of the appellant to call oral evidence, Mosia-Essien submitted that the lower court misdirected itself because where a document speaks for itself, there should be no need for oral evidence. Besides, he stated that the appellant's witnesses in the statement on oath demonstrated how the non-compliance occurred. On Form EC25, which is the polling unit's result sheet, Mosia-Essien told the Apex Court that INEC did not produce any copy to contradict the ones that Dr. Aswen Ighodalo and PDP tendered before the court. He accordingly urged the court to allow the appeal and set aside the concurrent judgment of the tribunal and the Court of Appeal. Responding, counsel to INEC, Kanu Agabi-Essien urged the Apex Court to dismiss the appeal for being incompetent in every aspect. According to him, the case of the appellants are incompetent because it manifests inconsistency. He explained that the appellants on one hand claimed that the election was invalid and yet wants the court to declare them winner of an invalid election. He maintained that the appellants, Aswen Ighodalo and the PDP, haven't branded an election invalid. They ought to ask that the election be nullified since their claim of non-compliance is of no effect. Also, Onyechikpe Azuesien, who represented Governor Monday Okpebholo, pointed out that it was not enough for the appellants to allege that the judgment of the lower court was perverse, but must clearly spell it out from the records of the court. He told the 5 panel of justices of the Apex Court that the appellants had not done so other than general expression of non-compliance. Speaking on the claims of overvoting, Onyechikpe Azuesien also faulted the reliance of the appellant on Section 51 of the Constitution to seek additional grounds for the deduction of votes, adding that the section did not dwell on nullification of election on grounds of overvoting. Similarly, Azuesien submitted that contrary to the position of the appellant, Section 136(1) should be read alone from subsection 2 and 3, which borders on the qualification of a candidate. He said if Section 136(1) stands alone, then they should ask for nullification of the election, but they have not done that. Azuesien said that the case of Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State did not apply in this instance because the Apex Court did not cancel votes but only added votes that were excluded from 366 polling units. On the issue of prior recording of sensitive materials used for the conduct of the September 21 governorship election, Okpebholo's lawyer told the Apex Court that the appellant did not plead Form EC25D, which contains quantity of materials returned as remarks. Ikpeazu said it was the respondents that rather confronted the appellant during cross-examination with Form EC40A, which showed that the forms were filled and duly signed, contrary to claim of the appellant. The senior lawyer further faulted the case of the appellant for failing to call witness to give oral evidence in support of the alleged non-compliance. He told the panel that they tendered beavers machines from the bar. The machines were not opened. Voters' register was not tendered. They were not pleaded to prove alleged overvoting. He also pointed out that the appellant relied on beaver screenshot, which the Apex Court rejected in the case of Nasarawa State governorship election. Ikpeazu subsequently urged the court to dismiss the appeal for being incompetent. On his part, Chief Emmanuel Kala-Essien cancelled to the All Progressives Congress (APC) while adopting the submissions of Agabi and Ikpeazu as his argument against the appeal, faulted the appellant for not calling enough and relevant witnesses to prove their case of non-compliance. He explained that the grounds of the petition are entirely issue of non-compliance and the proof must be from polling units to polling units. He said the appellant complained of 765 polling units, but they called only 5 witnesses who are polling unit agents. The remaining 14 were not polling unit agents but spread across wards and local governments. He added that from the onset, the case is incompetent, it arrived dead, and it is only proper that it should be dismissed. Recall that in May this year, the Court of Appeal delivered judgment in favor of Senator Monday Okpebholo, where the court expunged the BVAS machine that were admitted by the tribunal. According to the court, Section 81(1) of the Evidence Act states that it is clearly mandatory and applicable to the content of a computer such as BVAS machines produced and tendered. The evidence on the workability and state of the BVAS machine should not be by the certificate alone, but by oral evidence of how it was obtained and operated to generate the results. The appeal court at that time maintained that dumping an address of counsel will not validate or make admissible evidence not produced in accordance to law or which authenticity is not verified, saying that it is not permissible. It said the BVAS machine, though a document in law, is real evidence which only can be proved in the proceedings by evidence of a witness who may be cross-examined on same. Based on this, the appeal court said the BVAS and extracted documents in the case, even if relevant, had no probative value and the admissibility was rightly challenged. The court said the BVAS were identified by a person who could not be trusted on the veracity of the exhibits and usage and content thereof, including retrieval, saying that the appellant was not the best person to tender the documents as purportedly done, as that only ratified their existence as one of the documents parties had agreed to tender but were not tendered properly and by the right person or circumstances to be admissible. The court said the confirmation order made by the tribunal admitting exhibit PP DD1 to PP DD 133 in evidence was unsustainable, insupportable, and is found to be invalid, having been done contrary to clear provisions of the law. It concluded by saying that the order of the tribunal confirming the admissibility and admission of the BVAS in evidence occasioned miscarriage of justice and was set aside, and thereafter expunged the records of the BVAS machines from the records of the tribunal. The appeal also said the person who claimed that an election is invalid in his petition cannot at the same time demand to declare the winner of the same election he condemned as invalid, and that was what the PDP and Aswan Godalo did in their petition, wherein they sought the order of the tribunal declaring the appellant and cross-respondent as the winner of the same election. Determining the grounds of the petition, Justice Olabode Abimbola Adegbihigbe, who read the judgment at that time, said the position of the tribunal represents the current state of the law, going by the standards set by the Supreme Court, and until those standards shift or are shifted, all lower courts in the judicial hierarchy are mandated to follow the trial set by the Supreme Court. He said the tribunal was wrong in its decision to dismiss the case of the appellant on the basis of the reasons given in its judgment, and that the appeal by the PDP and its candidate has no merit. Now that the appeal is now before the Supreme Court for the final verdict, all eyes will now focus on the Supreme Court. Best Orator reporting for BeeTv News. And now back to Edo State. The Edo State Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Sir Dr. Lucky Esegbe, has stepped in to mediate into a growing chieftaincy dispute in Unome Osun community in Akoko Edo local government area of Edo State. The commissioner's intervention follows a formal petition submitted by members of the Unome Osun Development Association challenging the legitimacy of the current village head, His Royal Highness Frederick Lucky Iyogun II. The report.
They never authorized such letter. So where do we now stand? Excuse me, please. A house divided against Afghanistan? No. He just told you his qualification and he's the national treasurer. You are the president, I agreed.
According to the petitioners, His Royal Highness Frederick Lucky Iyogun II was allegedly not qualified to occupy the position of the village head, claiming he failed to meet the traditional requirements necessary for his selection and assertion to the throne.
Shegun, who is here seated, in his writing concerning him, he said, and this is the document, he can deny it, to our greatest dismay and surprise, Mr. Frederick Lucky Iyogun surreptitiously and clandestinely took advantage of the confusion to organize a kangaroo and secret meeting with his accomplices and cohort to produce an updated document endorsing his selection. Mr. Benjamin Iyogun was not aware of the meeting, talk less of having been defeated in the selection exercise. That was why Benjamin went to court. He can deny it. if it is not a document ready by you.
Commissioner, sir, if I can get my phone, I would have loved to play some voice. Mr. Fred Parker keep talking about Owafoba. I would have played his voice when we were in that same meeting again, that I am a small boy. I want to learn very well. I don't want to grow up tomorrow. People will be asking me, how is this thing? I will be saying here and there. What are the authentic name of the children we have in Uneme Agushi? My phone is there. If they bring my phone for me, sir, I will play him whether it's not his voice.
But as the president of the association, I was supposed to congratulate him officially. I didn't do that. And I asked him until we see the letter appointing him as the clan head, the letter of installation. It never came.
Responding, His Royal Highness Frederick Lucky Iyogun II dismissed the allegations and presented documentary evidence affirming that he was duly nominated and fulfilled all traditional and legal criteria to assume the position.
Present a candidate. That was the letter. Then in July 2023, to authenticate it, the Yogu family wrote again to the head of Uyoshi family to say that they completely agree. Yogu family unit is a small family unit. That's where I come from. But that is where the last Ode came from. To say that they completely agree. Having thought that the Akaba family wrote again to where I come from, wrote again to say they completely agree with it. Having thought that was the recommendation is clearly stated from the clan head to the Akoko Edo Traditional Rulers Council. In paragraph 2, it said, having been reliably informed by the representative of Wabobo Zushikide that the known litigation which had the hindered the installation of Mr. Michael Yogun of the Yogun has been struck since September 2021, and that there had been no appeal from any quarter ever since this case was dispensed with. That was his. He now recommended me.
Speaking during the Peace and Reconciliation meeting, Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Sir Dr. Lucky Esegbe, said that the dispute appears to have stemmed from an earlier court judgment. He advised all parties, particularly members of the Uneme Usu Development Association, to prioritize peace and unity within the community. He told them not to allow internal divisions to hinder the growth and development of Uneme Usu and urged the association to rally behind the traditional institution in the interest of peace.
Just for purpose of putting this record straight, I think this matter has its own root case in this judgment. It has. And sequel to that, we will be relying on the outcome of this judgment to know whether or not his ascending to the throne was actually in order or not.
Sir Dr. Lucky Esegbe reiterated the role of traditional leadership in community progress and warned against actions that could lead to further destabilization. He assured that the ministry will continue to provide oversight and foster peaceful coexistence in Edo's rural communities.
We have records here. We are dealing with documents here. Yes, we have seen your complaints. No man is perfect. He might have exhibited behaviors that some of you may not like, but I'm not sure it's everybody. We have seen all your complaints. That he's unruling or he's this and all that. No man is perfect. But in that same community, he still has this person who are also relatives of that place, who are also loyal to him, right? Yes. So when do I want the ministry to stand? We should strip him of that position as HROH. But we appeal to you all, please. We cannot be talking about a man who is not even here. And as an association, we cannot bestow the chieftaincy title, the royal father, on the association. No. It's on an individual. So if he decides not to respect this ministry to appear before us, to state his own case, whatever you might be saying here for us, we sit as hearsay. Because we need to hear from him. Can you buy the man in his absence? No. It's not possible. And again, you must also know as a government cannot appropriate and reprobate at the same time. So we appeal to you, please, let everybody go and walk with His Royal Highness.
It is expected that all parties involved will abide by the resolution. Best Orator reporting for BeeTv News. And now to some political matters. A planned unveiling of the African Democratic Congress as a unifying political platform for Nigerians' opposition suffered a setback on Wednesday after the venue for the event abruptly cancelled just hours before the program. The event scheduled to hold at the Wells Carlton Hotel and Apartments in Asoko, Abuja was expected to formally introduce the ADC as a platform to challenge the ruling All Progressives Congress in the 2027 general elections. However, organizers were informed Wednesday morning that the hotel would no longer host the event due to an unspecified internal compliance matter. A screenshot of the hotel's message posted on Wednesday by media personality and politician Dele Momodu on his Instagram page reads, "Dear esteemed patron, thank you once again for choosing the Wells Carlton Hotel and Apartments. We sincerely regret to inform you that due to an internal compliance matter that has just come to our notice, we are unable to proceed with hosting your scheduled event. We are fully aware that the event is less than 24 hours away and we deeply apologize for the timing and inconvenience this may cause. The Sunday cancellation has drawn sharp reactions from opposition figures, with Momodu alleging political interface, and that's the end of the quote. The ADC unveiling was expected to bring together top political figures across party lines, including former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, ex-Senate President David Mark, and former governors Aminu Tambuwa, Sule Lamido, Lie Imoke, and Samego. Others reportedly involved include Labour Party's Peter Obi, former Kaduna State Governor Nasiru El-Rufai, and ex-minister Rotimi Amechi. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it's working on new regulations to clarify conflicting interpretations of Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2022, which relates the review of election results. INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu met with resident electoral commissioners earlier yesterday. With the nation gearing up for the several by-elections, off-cycle governorship polls, and the 2027 general election, the Independent National Electoral Commission says it is developing supplementary regulations to provide clear guidance for the review of declarations and return during election. Speaking at the Commission's second quarterly meeting with the resident electoral commissioners, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu stated that the resident electoral commissioner must take full ownership of their responsibilities, stating that their duties extend well beyond general elections.
The Commission is concerned with various interpretations given to the provision of Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2022 on the review of election results. Pursuant to our powers to issue regulations, guidelines, and manuals to give effect to the provisions of the Electoral Act and for its administration, the Commission is working on a supplement to the regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections 2022 to provide clarity on the review of declaration and return at elections.
The INEC chairman also urged the resident electoral commissioner to organize conferences and capacity building workshops for their staff to enhance their understanding of a new policy and innovations designed to improve electoral service delivery.
You also need to provide us with information on your plans to enhance voter access to polling units by decongesting some of them, or in other areas such as the cleaning up of the voters' register, deepening our engagement with electoral stakeholders at state and local government levels, the management of electoral logistics, and election security. I wish to remind you that elections and electoral activities take place in some states of the Federation, and your role as managers of personnel and resources is critical to success.
The INEC chairman says he expects the resident electoral commissioner to drive institutional capacity building and ensure staff are well versed in the commission's evolving procedures and reforms. Best Orator reporting for BeeTv News. The All Progressives Congress has announced a 20 million naira fee for aspirants seeking to contest senatorial seats in the upcoming 2025 by-elections, while the cost for House of Representatives aspirants has been set at 10 million naira. This was contained in the official timetable and schedule of activities released by the party's National Secretariat in Abuja and signed by the National Organizing Secretary, Suleiman Arugu. According to the document, the fee breakdown for the senatorial contest includes 3 million naira for the expression of interest form and 17 million naira for the nomination form. For House of Representatives, the expression of interest form will cost 1 million naira, while the nomination form goes for 9 million naira. For aspirants contesting for Senate, House of Assembly seats, the total fee is 2 million naira. For aspirants contesting for State House of Assembly seats, the total fee is 2 million naira, 500,000 naira for expression of interest form, and 1.5 million naira for the nomination form. However, the party clarified that female aspirants and persons living with disabilities will only be required to purchase the expression of interest form, as the nomination form will be issued to them for free. Youths aged between 25 to 40 are entitled to a 50% discount on the nomination form fee. In a decisive and proactive move, the Edo State government, through the Edo State Flood Erosion and Watershed Management Agency, has continued its comprehensive strategy to address the protracted flood threats outlined in the 2025 Annual Flood Outlook released by the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, with the NIHAS identifying several communities in Edo as high and moderate flood risk zone. The state has wasted no time in mounting a robust community-focused response to protect lives, livelihood, and critical infrastructure. The report. Guided by a firm commitment to disaster risk reduction, the Edo State Flood Erosion and Watershed Management Agency has intensified its multi-pronged action plan that places a premium on early intervention, community involvement, and infrastructure resilience. The agency is wrapping up public sensitization campaigns statewide, leveraging data and local insight to educate residents on the importance of environmental hygiene, especially the need to keep floodwater infrastructure clear as peak flood season approaches. The Chief Executive Officer of the agency, Honorable Ahmed Musa Momo, recently conducted a series of technical inspections across flood-prone areas, including Gapiona, Pond 6 and 7, Amagba Ogumenyi Boundary Road, and Sam Excellence Atahe Pond. These visits aim to assess vulnerabilities, inspect ongoing desilting operations, and engage directly with local communities. During the inspection, Honorable Momo expressed concern over the continued practice of waste disposal into floodwater infrastructures, warning that such actions undermine the functionality of drainage system and increase the risk of severe flooding. He reaffirmed government's commitment to ensuring that all predicted high-risk zones receive urgent attention. He said Governor Monday Okpebholo envisions an Edo where residents live free from threats of flood and erosion, a safe and resilient state where development is not hindered by preventable disasters. He further assured that efforts in Benin City will be replicated in other vulnerable regions across the state, with an emphasis on timely execution and collaboration with other ministries, departments, and agencies.
So just get the net, break it, use a slate to hold the net. So anytime it is coming in, to hold it. So you have to lay water and go inside. You won't get any, all those thing, calm. You see, it's all full of calm.
The desilting of drains and evacuation of debris also took place at the Oba Market Aziz, Oba Hawaii, and Environ, which was supervised by the agency's board. Edo State's early and coordinated intervention serves as a model for effective flood preparedness and disaster risk governance in Nigeria. The Edo State government continues to lead by example, demonstrating that with the right policies, technical oversight, and community involvement, the risk of seasonal flooding can be effectively mitigated to protect both humans and infrastructure. Best Orator reporting for BeeTv News. Respondents in Benin City have frowned at the indiscriminate parking of vehicles at the popular Forest Road in Benin City, which has resulted in obstruction of human and vehicular movement. BeeTv News Freema Osawe reports that several commercial bus drivers parked their vehicles inappropriately in the area.
To bring sanity into parking spaces. If they want to really enforce it, they can do it.
Forestry Road in Benin City is a commercial area in the state capital with several business activities. However, the unauthorized parking of vehicles by commercial bus drivers who have continued the habit of parking vehicles at restricted areas. Some respondents who frown at the attitude of the motorists said it has become a daily practice, not minding the discomfort, and appeal to the task force in charge to clear the road.
Discriminate parking of vehicles, especially the public vehicle, the commuters. Now, it has two legs. One on the part of the drivers, who are bus drivers, the taxi, and secondly on the part of government. The government has the right to bring sanity into parking spaces. If they want to really enforce it, they can do it, because it's still these government officials, whether directly or indirectly or cohorted staff, that collects peanuts from them and allow them to park indiscriminately by picking passengers. So if the government has stricter measures on this, you see they can bring sanity to it.
Oredo local government, because it's within Oredo. If they actually want something to be done, remember, unless some certain offenders are punished, others don't get lesson. You know that? If some are punished for committing offense, others will now learn from there. And that is another point of decongesting it.
Now to just advise people for the youth and with other things. And then, yes, it's possible. It's possible. Now some people say yes, the fees still do. For the youth, say yes, you can benefit from it.
Though members of the professional drivers on we have the congested traffic in other parts of the state, it is however expected that Forestry Road will be visited too. Freeman Usawi reporting for BeeTv News.
The lawmaker representing Mikwag State constituency, Daniel Nalong, has emerged as a new speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly. Nalong, a member of the All Progressives Congress, was elected as the speaker on Wednesday following the resignation of the former speaker Gabriel Diwan from the Young Progressives Party. The election took place on Wednesday during an emergency sitting held at the temporary assembly complex located at the old government house, Jos. Nalong, a member representing Mikwang constituency and a former majority leader in the 9th Assembly, was unanimously chosen by his colleagues to lead the 24-member legislature. The change in leadership comes on the heels of a closed-door meeting involving Governor Caleb Mufwang, the former speaker, and other lawmakers. The meeting was convened as part of efforts to address ongoing political tensions within the state. The emergency session was presided over by Deputy Speaker Gunta Ayang, who facilitated the transition process. The use of substandard cooking oil by some food vendors is prevalent in urban and semi-urban areas in Nigeria. Many vendors use reused, darkened, and expired oil sourced from unregulated suppliers or purchased at low cost from open markets. BeeTv News Gift Omone reports that these oils are often industrial grade and unfit for consumption, as it poses certain health risk, calling for as respondents called for government swift intervention. Her reports.
Taken to the streets of Benin City, residents lament the use of bad cooking oil by roadside vendors and said it poses health concerns. According to experts, food prepared with such oil pose serious health risks, including cardiovascular diseases, liver and kidney damage, gastrointestinal issues, and increased cancer risk due to toxic compounds such as acrylamide and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Frequent consumption leads to long-term health complications, as the main drivers of this practice are economic constraints, lack of regulatory oversight, consumer ignorance, and easy access to adulterated oils. Vendors often operate on low margins and choose cheaper oils to cut costs. Many operate without inspection due to weak enforcement by health authorities. Consumers rarely question food safety, and low-quality oil is easily accessible in local markets. as respondents identified the posing risk in reusable cooking and bad cooking oils, also calling on the government for sensitization and health campaigns.
I believe there are some health risks wise a bit, but to some extent, I believe multiple usage of oil on some things, I believe there are some risks it's usually going to have an effect to our health. So, but sometimes sensitization to the public, sometimes people don't really know about it, but it's only health officials.
Health hazard using bad oil, because using bad oil can be a form of poisoning to the younger ones, children, to health reasons. As a result, can as well affect their immune system. Advise that the public, general public, that please, if they are using something that is active for the public, make sure that something that is good, because all these things have health effects that can affect the children.
Regulatory enforcement is weak despite guidelines by NAFDAC and SON. Many vendors function outside regulatory coverage. Local health departments lack capacity for regular inspections and enforcement, allowing the practice to continue unchecked. The government should consider subsidy schemes to make quality oil affordable. Regulation of oil distribution should be tightened to ensure only approved products are sold. The continued use of bad cooking oil by food vendors poses a public health threat and requires immediate regulatory, educational, and consumer-driven interventions. Godgift Omone reporting for BeeTv News.
The vaccination exercise against the diphtheria disease organized by the state government is still ongoing across the state as people are trooping into health centers to get their children vaccinated. BeeTv News' Freeman Osawe, who visited the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, reports that health officials took turns to administer the vaccine on the children.
At the University of Benin Teaching Hospital Center, where the diphtheria vaccination is taking place, witness influx of parents to get their children vaccinated. Health officials were fully on the ground taking turn to attend to each child as the vaccination exercise went on smoothly. Some parents thanked the state government and the Ministry of Health for the free vaccination initiative aimed at protecting their children from the diphtheria disease and also scored the process of the vaccination so far as high and smooth.
Say thank you to the government for ensuring that our children are well vaccinated and it's looking good. All thanks to the government. We are very grateful to them and they should keep up the good work.
We are grateful for the government for wanting to help us prevent the disease.
This vaccine, polio that children have been taking. Just want to tell the government, thank you for at least bringing it out for the children free of charge.
Nurse Brahma Falilat and Mrs. Efe Yamu said the vaccination has been progressing so well and it is an exercise backed by the Edo State government through the Ministry of Health to ensure the diphtheria disease is eradicated. They also said the process has been very smooth following massive turnout of beneficiaries.
The vaccinations we are giving now is against diphtheria disease. As we all know that there's an outbreak of diphtheria in Edo State. And the state governor and the commissioner for health, they've given us a go-ahead to immunize children between the ages of 5 to 14 years to give them a booster dose against this diphtheria disease that is an outbreak. It's usually affects children. So that is why you can see a lot of children around between that ages 5 to 14. That is what we are giving to them now. Then also, we also know that there's also OBRO that is also going on for oral polio vaccines that we are also giving. That started since on Saturday, and it's just 2 drops orally for children between 0 to 59 months. That is what we are also giving to that age range to prevent against poliomyelitis. So these are the vaccines that we are giving. But other vaccines, other routine vaccines, that we give on daily basis. The other children are also here to take their routine vaccines, like the pentavalent vaccines, the PCV vaccines, the IPV vaccines, the oral polio, the rotavirus vaccines. So these are various vaccines we also give to other children.
Parents have been bringing their children, and also it's not only diphtheria vaccine that we are giving. It's because of the outbreak of diphtheria. That's why they say we should be vaccinating children between the ages of 5 to 14 years, and also use the opportunity to vaccinate those female children from 9 to 14 for the human papilloma virus vaccine. So it's like a kind of double work. So alongside with the diphtheria vaccination, we are also doing the human papilloma virus vaccination also. It turned out as really, really encouraging. Like around this settlement, around the Ugbo, we've really gone around to sensitize people around. So they've been coming. We have normal mothers coming for the routine immunization, and those coming around for the diphtheria vaccination also.
The vaccination program against diphtheria started last week across the state. Freeman Usawe reporting for BeeTv News.
You're still watching BeeTv News at 6. Up ahead, President Bola Tinubu pledged his administration's continued support for the FCT administration. Details of this and more when we come back. So stay with us.
It's finally here, the day we've all been waiting for. The coronation ceremony of His Royal Majesty Michael Eshoronoya Olonufemi Sado, the Okwelagbe of Okwela Kingdom. Join us live on July 5th, 2025 at the Aveva Primary School, Okube, Okwela, Edo State, as we witness the coronation ceremony of our King, His Royal Majesty Engineer Michael Eshoronoya Olonufemi Sado, the Okwelagbe of Okwela Kingdom. Special guest of honor, His Excellency Senator Monday Okpebolo, Executive Governor of Edo State. Signed, High Chief Hansen Aimofume, Chairman Planning Committee. For inquiries, call 0803-360-7379. Barrister Akuri Afegwa, Palace Secretary. Long live the King. Our glory is back.
President Bola Tinubu has pledged his administration's continued support to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, as Nyesom Wike continued delivering life-impacting projects in the territory. The president was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the inauguration of newly constructed Collector Road and other connected roads in Dakobuya district. He assured that government will continue to provide resources, policy backing, and institutional cooperation needed to ensure that the projects like that are delivered on time and to the highest standards.
A modern city inspires confidence, attracts investment, and most importantly, restores the dignity of those who call it home. That is why today's occasion is not just about commissioning a road. It is a grand reassurance that cities must work for their people, and that a functioning capital is the foundation upon which a functioning nation is built.
Your Excellency, you can't believe that as a city, we could have such terrible, horrible roads. And to the Federal Council, by our support, this contract was awarded last year, September, and we flagged it up October last year. Today, we are commissioning it.
And now let's take you to the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives wants the federal government to fast-track the payment of Nigerians' outstanding debt of £1.2 million to the Organization of African, Caribbean, and the Pacific States to advert looming sanctions. It's also seeking the creation of a federal university for oil and gas to address challenges of technical human capacity in the sector. The report is presented by Harmony Agbafo.
The Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific Group of States is a set of countries working together to facilitate development, cooperation, trade, and diplomatic engagement in the regions. As a member state, Nigeria received over £1.12 million in development support through the OACPS European Union Partnership since 2020.
Trade opportunities and diplomatic benefit.
The Deputy Chief Whip, Isiaka Ibrahim, comes with a motion on the urgent need for Nigeria to avert impending sanctions due to non-remittance of cumulative assets contribution to the organization.
Failure to remit these dues risks Nigeria's imminent sanction by the OACPS Secretariat, which could adversely affect our ongoing and future contributions within the group.
A bill for an act to establish Federal Medical Center Ore Ondo State, sponsored by Festus Adefirie, passed second reading.
I rise to make a motion that a bill for an act to amend the Federal Medical Center Act 2022 to establish Federal Medical Center Ore Ondo State be read for second time.
Delta State member Francis Waive is grateful to President Bola Tinubu for the creation of a federal medical center in his constituency.
Today, one of our own, a professor of hematology at the University of Calabar, our own son, Professor Kingsley Akaba, has been appointed as the pioneer chief medical director of the FMC Umia. My people say thank you to Mr. President.
Ondo State member Donald Ojogo is seeking the creation of a federal university of oil and gas technology in Igbokoda.
Ondo State, particularly Ilaje, the federal constituency, is the only oil producing federal constituency as at now in the entire southwest. And we do not have an oil related institution at the tertiary level, and we need it.
The House adopted a motion calling on INEC to create more constituencies from Udokwa East and West, as well as Ukwani State constituencies of Delta State, to enable improved representation of the people. Harmony Agbafor reporting for BeeTv News. The 24th edition of the Nigerian Oil and Gas Energy Week has officially commenced in Abuja, bringing together stakeholders from across Nigeria's energy sector and international oil and gas companies. At the event, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited announced that the Jakarta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline will be completed by the fourth quarter of 2025. The Nigerian Oil and Gas Energy Week is a country premier platform for the energy industry held annually in Abuja. It brings together key players across the oil, gas, and energy value chain, including government representatives, international oil companies, investors, and regulators to shape conversations around Nigeria's energy future. This year's edition offers participants the opportunity to reflect on industry progress, ongoing reforms, and critical infrastructure milestones.
You heard when the GCO said that we got 17 billion in investment in 2024. We got 3 out of the 4 FIDs in the continent in 2024. These things didn't happen by accident. It is not a coincidence. It's as a result of deliberate efforts made, as a result of the policies, as a result of the reforms at work.
Our pipeline diplomacy is bearing fruits. We are committed to the long-standing West African gas pipeline, WAPI, which continues to deliver gas from Nigeria to our West African neighbors.
But one of the biggest challenges that the project has faced was ability to cross the River Niger. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to announce to you today that we have crossed the River Niger.
People are expected to move.
Top executive emphasized the importance of collaboration to meet the growing global demand for energy and ensure long-term sustainability.
We are stronger together, a fact that has guided OPEC's work for 65 years. And this is why OPEC will continue to prioritize partnerships in order to secure a balanced and stable oil market, including through the Declaration of Cooperation and the Charter of Cooperation.
The immediate focus for us as an industry is to reposition the key into the marching order by Mr. President to the NMPCL to raise national production to 3 million barrels of oil per day and 13 billion cubic feet of gas by 2030.
This year's theme, Accelerating Global Energy Progress Through Investment, Partnership and Innovation, sets the tone for a week focused on strategic growth, energy transition and regional cooperation. Harmony Agbafor reporting for BeeTv News.
The governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has urged architects to uphold the highest standards of professionalism as a measure to curb the reoccurring incident of building collapse in that state. The governor, represented by his deputy, Mr. Obafemi Hamzat, made the appeal recently during the keynote address at the 6th Distinguished Lecture of the Nigerian Institute of Architects, which held in Lagos. BeeTv News, God's Gift Omone, has more.
European national identity and cultural heritage has the potential to impact our society in many various ways, from designing iconic landmarks to preserving historic buildings. Architects help to create and maintain the physical environment that reflects a nation's history, values, and aspirations. This is a gathering of professionals in the built environment with high-level government officials in attendance.
Some people have also said that Africa will really not develop if we don't keep our environment safe, peaceful, and sustainable. So the idea that we can build anywhere, we can build anyhow, cannot just be the way we want to go. I think the challenge for us, like I'm a fellow of the Institute of Engineering, I'm an engineer, is that professionals don't talk enough in our country. We don't.
The focus of this discussion is Harmony in Diversity, delivered by architect Olubukola Ejuwumi, the first female president of the NIA.
Harmony in society is possible when individuals respect and value differences, when people engage in open communication, when we foster empathy and understanding, when we promote equality and justice, when we collaborate to pursue shared goals, when people coexist peacefully, when people share ideas and learn from one another, when communities are strong and inclusive, like the one we are just watching, when societies thrive together.
Other speakers emphasized the role of collaboration among professionals in the construction sector to reduce housing-related risk.
We discover many times that many clients are guilty of not using core professionals to do their project. Therefore, what you get eventually, either a collapse, a building collapse because the right professionals are not in charge, both from design stage, which is very important, to supervision, to, checking the kind of materials that are going to be used.
There are so many problems that could cause collapse, and I will just simply answer you that when you involve the right professionals will ensure that buildings are constructed based on laid down, approved rules, regulations, and standards, and you will not end up with a building failure.
Everyone stressed the need for innovation in the architectural sector to be supported by policy, adding that the government play a crucial role in promoting institutional diversity. God's Gift Omone reporting for BeeTv News.
And now moving on to the global scene, where the U.S. President Donald Trump stated that Israel has accepted the necessary conditions for a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza, but the details remain unclear. Also, the Dalai Lama announces clear succession plan. BeeTv News correspondent Harmony Agbafo has more on these and other stories from the global scene.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced that Israel has agreed to the necessary conditions for a 60-day ceasefire, even though details are unclear. He urged Hamas to accept the deal, warning it won't get better. Israel hasn't officially confirmed, but signals suggest support for a hostage release framework. Trump set to meet Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu next week, and he believes a deal is close. The war continues as Israel demands the return of all hostages, and Hamas calls for a permanent truce and Israeli withdrawal. This comes amid intensified Israeli strikes in Gaza, where over 56,000 have died since October. Aid distribution remains contentious, with accusations of Israeli forces targeting civilians, which Israel denies. A previous ceasefire collapsed earlier this year after renewed fighting. The Dalai Lama confirmed his spiritual lineage will continue after his death. His successor will be chosen through traditional Tibetan Buddhist method. He insisted the next Dalai Lama will be born outside China. China is expected to appoint its own rival Dalai Lama, which Tibetans reject. The Dalai Lama fled to India in 1959 after a failed uprising against Chinese rule. He remains a spiritual leader and symbol of Tibetan identity in exile. Over 7,000 people, including Richard Gere, attended his 90th birthday celebrations. His decisions is seen as vital to preserving Tibetan culture and unity. A Ugandan military helicopter with 8 people on board crashed at Mogadishu's Aden Adair International Airport, causing a fire that was quickly contained. The helicopter came from Balidogu Air Base and crashed in the military section of the airport. Eyewitnesses reported seeing smoke and flames. The cause of the crash and casualty details are still unclear, and an investigation is underway. Ugandan troops are part of the African Union force supporting Somalia's fight against the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab insurgency. Gold has become a crucial source of revenue for military governments in West Africa's Sahel region, including Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, as they battle jihadist insurgencies and regional isolation. While high gold prices attract global investors, much of the region's gold comes from informal small-scale mining, often controlled by armed groups or exploited by governments and foreign allies like Russia's Africa Corps. Revenues rarely benefit local communities and instead fund military campaigns, mercenaries, and sometimes insurgents. Efforts to regulate blood gold have been less effective than past campaigns against conflict diamonds due to weak enforcement and the difficulty of tracing gold. Much of this gold ends up refined in the UAE before entering global markets, including the UK, with little way to track its origins. And that is all from the global scenes. Harmony Agba for reporting for BeeTv News.
And now let's talk entertainment. Nigerian actor and podcast host Toby Makinde has acknowledged filmmaker Funke Akindele for significantly influencing his professional development. Also, Nigerian rapper and social commentator Eriga has advised creatives to act promptly on their ideas to avoid losing their relevance. Let's now join BeeTv News God's Gift of Money for details and more from the entertainment world.
In an interview, Makinde described his work with Akindele on the films A Tribe Called Judah and Everybody Loves Jennifer as instrumental to his growth. He noted that Akindele's commitment, discipline, and leadership on set had a transformative effect on his career and approach to acting. Makinde, who began his career as a child actor in Kamsi and Neighbors, shared an experience with a fan who credited his work for providing emotional support during a difficult period. He described the interaction as a reminder of the impact storytelling can have on people's lives. In addition to his acting career, Makinde recently launched a podcast titled The Toby Makinde Show. He described the platform as an opportunity for unscripted storytelling and deeper engagement with his audience, highlighting its authenticity and emotional depth. In another development, Eriga encourages creatives to act on ideas promptly. In a post shared via his official X, formerly Twitter account, the Delta-born artist warned that delaying execution on creative thoughts can result in those ideas being realized by others. He clarified that his occurrence is not due to theft, but because the idea's time has arrived and someone else was ready to act. The message was widely interpreted as a motivational call for innovation and execution within Nigeria's creative and entrepreneurial communities. Nollywood actress Angela Okori has addressed public reactions following a viral video showing 2 armed police officers jogging behind her during a walkout. The video, which circulated widely on social media, drew criticism over the perceived misuse of state security personnel. In response, the Nigerian police force described the conduct of the officers as unprofessional and embarrassing and confirmed that disciplinary action would be taken. Angela Okori later confirmed that she was invited by the police for questioning regarding the incident and that she honored the invitation. She stated her respect for the police and clarified her position following the controversy. Emeka Ugunoye, legal representative of May Edochie, has denied claims that his client issued an apology letter to her estranged husband, Yu Edochie, amidst their ongoing divorce proceedings. During a live session on Tuesday, Ugunoye dismissed the reports as false divorce and maintained that May remains committed to pursuing her divorce and legal action over alleged infidelity. He explained that May was the party who filed for divorce and emphasized that Yu Edochie had chosen not to file a counterclaim. The lawyer further stated that Yu's decision to embrace polygamy played a central role in the breakdown of their marriage and that public suggestions of an apology from May were baseless. May Edochie initiated divorce proceedings in August 2023, citing adultery and seeking 100 million naira in damages from Judy Austin, whom Yu introduced as his second wife in April 2022. And that is it from the entertainment world. Gosgift Omone reporting for BeeTv News.
And now to sports news. Former Nigerian under-23 coach Samson Siasia has made a stunning revelation, alleging that ex-Super Eagles captain John Mikel Obi attempted to secure a place in the 2008 Olympic squad with a £50,000, equivalent of 76,700,000 naira offer through his agent. Let's now join the BeeTv News Freema Osawe for more.
The ex-Super Eagles coach Samson Siasia explained that Mikel, who was then struggling for regular game time at Chelsea, was invited to help the team during the final round of qualification but declined the call-up. The midfielder eventually went to represent Nigeria at the 2016 Rio Olympics, where he captained the team to a bronze medal. Siasia, who led Nigeria to a silver medal in Beijing, stood firm on his stance, defending his decision to prioritize merit and loyalty over star power. Mikel's absence from the final squad came as a surprise at the time, considering his status as one of Nigeria's top talents in Europe. Bayern Munich are monitoring the situation of Liverpool star Luis Diaz as they took to strengthen their attacking ranks. Luis Diaz was previously a primary transfer target for Barcelona. However, the Catalan club were reportedly frustrated by the perceived inactivity of the player and his agent. The La Liga champions have now shifted their focus to securing Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao. The two parties have also discussed potential financial terms should a deal progress. The report suggests Diaz is open to leaving Liverpool, and an offer from Al Nassr could also be forthcoming. Last season, Luis Diaz scored 13 goals in 36 Premier League appearances, playing a significant role in Liverpool's title challenge. Bayern Munich are reportedly preparing a move for Liverpool winger Luis Diaz. According to Bald, the French National Union of Professional Footballers, UNFP, has strongly criticized the Club World Cup in the United States and FIFA President Gianni Infantino. This comes despite the unequivocal request from the European courts to abandon its policy of hegemony and include stakeholders and clubs who are currently presented with a fait accomplished in the decision-making process. It doesn't care that PSG played as its second match of the season this Sunday, while 4 League One clubs have already resumed training for the 2025-2026 season. Track couple Sha'Carri Richardson and Christian Coleman will go to etch their names in the history books when they line up in their respective title events at the Prefontaine Classic Diamond League in Eugene on July 5. The romantic pair, who are part of the airliner's 50th anniversary of the Prefontaine Classic, will compete in the May 100-meter event, in which victories for them will put their names among the greats in the meet history. And that's it on Sport News tonight. Freeman Osawe reporting for BeeTv News.
And the reports by Freema Osawe concludes our major news for today. Thank you so very much for watching. My name is Best Orator. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.